All right, let's just get right into it. For pretty much our whole lives, we've been sold this one simple story about money, right? You work hard, you climb the ladder, and the size of your paycheck, well, that's what decides how wealthy you are. But what if that whole story is just wrong? What if the real gap between being stressed about money and having total financial freedom has almost nothing to do with your salary? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the secret that separates the people who always seem to have money from those who never do, no matter what their tax bracket says.
Just look at this. It's a total paradox. Imagine two neighbors living in the same town. The person on the left is pulling in almost six figures, but honestly, they're terrified to even check their bank account. They are one bad month away from a real crisis. Now, look at the person on the right. They earn nearly half as much, but they sleep soundly at night. Why? Because they have a year and a half of all their expenses just sitting there, saved up.
So how is that even possible? It completely defies everything we're taught. But the truth is, the person on the right figured something out that the person on the left never did. And it's not some crazy stock tip or a complicated financial hack. It's about seeing and then absolutely demolishing two fundamental myths about money that keep most people trapped. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now, one by one.
Okay, let's tackle the big one first. Myth number one, this deeply ingrained idea that your wealth is all about what you earn. I mean, this is what society drills into our heads every single day, right? The bigger the salary, the richer you must be. It seems so obvious, but it's actually incredibly misleading.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. The real issue isn't the number of zeros on your paycheck, it's the mindset that controls where every single one of those dollars goes. You know, poor thinking says, hey, I got paid today, so I'm going to spend it today. But wealthy thinking says, I got paid today, so I'm going to put this money to work so it can make more money for me tomorrow. And that little shift, well, that changes everything.
So, what's the number one enemy of that wealthy thinking? It's this sneaky thing called lifestyle creep. It's that invisible, almost magnetic pull that happens every single time you get a raise. You start out thinking, awesome, this extra cash is going to make savings so much easier. But then, your spending just kind of expands to fill the new income. A slightly bigger apartment, a newer car, a few more nights out. Each one feels tiny, but you add them all up and, boom, your raise is gone. You're right back where you started.
And that lifestyle creep, it usually shows up disguised as one of these wealth killers. And look at the top of the list, the absolute worst offender, a brand new car. The second you drive that thing off the lot, it loses about 20% of its value. Instantly, you just turned a $35,000 asset into a $28,000 one in 5 minutes. And then you've got the other traps like lottery tickets, which are basically a tax on wishful thinking, and payday loans, which are designed from the ground up to just bleed you dry.
So here's the way out. The secret weapon to break this cycle isn't to just keep chasing a bigger paycheck. It's to do something that feels a little weird, a little radical even. It's to define what enough looks like for you before you get the next raise. Decide what kind of house is good enough, what car gets the job done, what level of comfort actually makes you happy. Once you hit that target, every single dollar you earn on top of that can go straight to building your freedom, not just a fancier cage.
All right, let's get into myth number two because this is where things get really interesting. This is the belief that building wealth requires some kind of genius move, some flashy, high-stakes gamble. You see it everywhere on social media, right? People yelling about crypto, day trading, flipping houses. It's all very exciting, very dramatic, and for most people, it is an absolutely phenomenal way to lose a ton of money. The actual secret is so boring that almost nobody wants to talk about it. Real, lasting wealth isn't built by trying to be a genius, by jumping in at the perfect bottom and selling at the perfect top. It's built by consistently, patiently, putting your money to work and just letting time do all the heavy lifting for you. The most powerful force in finance isn't intelligence, it's patience.
And the engine that makes all of this work is a little something called compounding. The best way to picture it is like a tiny snowball at the very top of a huge snowy mountain. When you first give it a push, it's small, it barely picks up any snow. For the first few years, honestly, it feels like nothing is happening. But then, somewhere down that hill, the snowball gets just big enough that it starts gathering more snow all by itself. And the bigger it gets, the faster it grows until it becomes this massive, unstoppable avalanche of wealth.
Let's make this super real. Say you invest $500. In year one, at a pretty average return, you earn $35. And you're probably thinking, seriously? $35? What's the point? This right here, this is the first test, and this is where almost everyone gives up. But if you just keep going, by year 5, you start to see something shift. Your money isn't just growing based on what you put in anymore. Now it's growing on top of its own past growth. The snowball is starting to pick up some real speed.
And then, after 20 years of that same consistent, boring process, the magic is just undeniable. Your portfolio isn't just growing anymore, it's exploding. That tiny little snowball is now a full-blown avalanche, creating serious wealth all on its own. That's the quiet, patient, and completely unstoppable power of time.
So how do you actually do this? Do you need to be some Wall Street wizard picking the next Amazon? Nope, not at all. The most proven and simplest tool is something called an index fund. Think of it like this. Instead of trying to find the one winning needle in a haystack, you just buy the entire haystack. You get a tiny piece of hundreds of the biggest companies all at once. You're not betting on one company to succeed, you're just making a long-term bet on human progress and innovation. It's the ultimate set-it-and-forget-it wealth-building machine.
Okay, so to really drive home how powerful this boring path is, let's watch a duel. Let's do a case study comparing two of the most common ways people try to build wealth: real estate, which feels active and tangible, and stocks, which can feel passive and kind of abstract. So, meet Jake and Marcus. They are starting from the exact same place. Same savings, same income, same everything. Jake takes his 50 grand and uses it as a down payment on a rental property. He's using leverage, borrowing the bank's money to control a much bigger asset. Marcus, on the other hand, takes his 50 grand and just puts it all into a simple stock market index fund. No leverage, no tenants, no drama. So in the first few years, Jake feels like a genius. He's cashing rent checks, but then reality hits. The profits get eaten alive by a new water heater, a leaky roof. Meanwhile, Marcus's portfolio is just quietly growing in the background. Now, check this out. By year 10, their net worth is almost identical. But here's the catch. Jake has poured hundreds of hours into being a part-time landlord, while Marcus has spent exactly 0 hours. Fast forward to year 20, and the quiet power of passive compounding has taken over. Marcus's portfolio has actually pulled ahead of Jake's, and he built it all automatically, without a single 2 a.m. phone call about a broken toilet.
And this final scorecard, it tells the whole story. Look, their final net worth ended up being basically the same, but the cost to get there was wildly different. Jake basically signed up for a stressful second job for 2 decades straight, and all his money was locked up in one single hard-to-sell asset. Marcus got to the same destination with 0 extra hours of work and total freedom. He wasn't just investing in the market, he was investing in his own time and his own peace of mind.
And that right there brings us to the real point of all this. This is the big revelation. We've been talking about the how-to of building wealth, but we haven't talked about the why. Why are we even doing any of this in the first place? Is it the big house, the fancy car, a certain number in your investment account? If we're always measuring wealth by the stuff we have, we are going to be stuck on a treadmill forever, always chasing the next thing. We have to change the goal itself. So, I'll ask you, what is real wealth? It comes down to one word: optionality. This is it. This is the truest, purest measure of wealth. It's not about what you can buy, it's about what you can choose. Optionality is the freedom to walk away from a job that is crushing your soul, without having to panic about how you're going to pay rent. It's the ability to take 6 months off to care for a sick parent. It's the power to move across the country on a whim, or to finally start that business you've been dreaming about for years. But you know what it really is? Real wealth is the ability to say no. To say no to projects, to jobs, to situations that just don't feel right. It is total control over your own time.
So just remember this. Every dollar you spend isn't just buying you a thing. It's a trade. You are trading a small piece of your future freedom for something you can have today. And that brings us to the final and really the only question that matters. Your money is buying a future, one way or another. Which one is it going to be?